Hey guys, what's up? My name is Clancis and welcome to the Iron Bars on my True Crime YouTube channel. So before I go any further, guys, I don't know what I did. I think I may have made a huge mistake. I did script today's case and it was the horrendous murder of Karabo Mokoena. So I've done my research, I've done everything to the T, and I was ready to start recording. But as I was going through my laptop looking for my script, there was nothing. But I do remember, maybe I don't, because I remember the day when I was doing my research, I was also quite busy at work, and so there's a chance that I may have accidentally deleted my script for today's case, and I am mortified. I'm upset with myself because it took me 2 weeks to research this case and to only find out at the end that I don't have it on my laptop. I mean, look at my eyes. I'm like teary. I was just tearing up because I'm heartbroken. I don't know, what did I do? This is just, I don't know. I don't know. So I just want to apologize that today there is no true crime story. However, I do want to speak on this case of Karabo Mokoena because since then there have been more Karabo Mokoena simply because South Africa, especially our lawmakers in this country, are not interested in getting rid of gender-based violence. I think maybe the reason might be the fact that some of these lawmakers themselves are engaged or involved in GBV in their own homes. And so they feel that if they created a law that was harsh enough, they may actually find themselves serving harsh sentences because of their own attitude at home with their wives or with their girlfriends or fiancés or brothers or sisters or even children. Because I do have very strong views about how we can curb this horrendous crime in South Africa, because every other day in this country you hear that a woman was murdered by her husband or by her boyfriend or by her brother or even by her fiance. Sometimes even a man next door or a man at work. Women in this country are not safe. And I'm not saying, I'm not a person who is violent. As a matter of fact, me and violence are best enemies, if I can put it that way. And as a man in South Africa, I feel that women shouldn't also trust me because that's how unsafe it is to be a woman in South Africa. Yes, like I said, I'm not violent. I don't have a violent bone in my body. But women, I think, should also, when they see me, they should consider me a potential danger. So with this said, I feel that the only way we can curb this crime is to come up with very harsh sentences once the perpetrator has been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I want you to understand me very clearly on what I'm about to say. So for the longest time, I have been against the death penalty. I did not support the death penalty. But the way things are going on in South Africa, one began to start thinking, wait a minute. I started looking at African countries that have the death penalty. The one that is closest to South Africa is Botswana. Botswana has a death penalty. And if you look at violent crimes in Botswana, they are almost non-existent. The reason why they are almost non-existent is because in Botswana, if you are going to kill, you will be killed by the state once your trial has found you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So men and women in Botswana will not dare think of murdering another human being. So, which kind of like made me think, even back in apartheid South Africa, yes, the death penalty was used against political activists. So it was basically used for political revenge or whatever the apartheid government had in its sick mind about the death penalty. But I believe that the death penalty was supposed to be put in place to deter heinous crimes like murder, like rape, like basically anything that has to do with where a human being's life has been compromised. So as a result of that, I've been thinking maybe, just maybe, not that I'm 100% there, but I am getting convinced that the death penalty might be the answer to the horrendous and heinous crimes that are happening in South Africa. The last time I gave you the stats for murder in South Africa per day, which was 57 murders happen per day here in South Africa. IOL, a newspaper here in South Africa, says this about the stats of gender-based violence. South Africa is a country that is notorious for its high levels of gender-based violence, or GBV. The South African Police Services statistics for reported rape cases for 2019 and 2020 is 42,289. 42,000 women were raped in 2019-2020 alone. That is incredibly unacceptable. And to sexual assault, 7,749 sexual assaults in South Africa, amid huge underreporting of rape, meaning that the stats that we have do not reflect the true number of rapes that are happening in South Africa. Actually, what they believe is that it is more than what they have on their records, because the people that have come to report are the ones that get put in a database, and therefore we know how many women were raped or sexually assaulted in the previous year. So the reason why as well I feel that there's a problem here in South Africa, why some women would not go and report a gender-based violence like rape, is because some women, when they go to the police station, they get mocked by the police, especially if a woman is married and she's having issues with her husband, and the husband at some stage rapes her, and then the woman goes and report the rape to the police station, and the police will be like, come on, he's your husband, he can do whatever he wants with your body because he paid lobola for you. So lobola in South Africa is dowry. He paid dowry for you of thousands and thousands and thousands of rands. Now you are coming here to open a case of rape against him. So many women feel that they cannot actually go to the police and report these crimes. In other instances, you would have a young lady who's been raped, and she goes to the police station to report the rape, and she knows her rapist, and the police will look at her and say, is this how you dress? The way you are dressed is the reason why you were raped. So the police then will not take their cases seriously, and as a result, many young women do not go and report rape. And some they get raped by their own family members, like a father, an uncle, or even a brother. So they feel that if they go and report the rape, they would bring shame to the family, or the family members will turn against her for lying on the father or the brother, or whatever the case might be. So there's a lot that is going on here in South Africa when it comes to gender-based violence, and the scourge just keeps getting worse each day, because almost every other day you hear on the news that another woman has been killed by her boyfriend or her husband, or a brother or a neighbor who's a male. So this is just upsetting, because every time there's a gender-based violence crime that has been reported, suddenly South Africans are up in arms, but immediately after the case is done, we basically look the other way and continue with life until the next one and until the next one. It's tiring. It's tiring because this should not even be happening. Our lawmakers are the ones that are supposed to be proactive in protecting women and children in this country, but they are not doing their jobs, because they know that if they do enact a law, that law is going to come back and bite them in the butt, because they too are involved in gender-based violence in their own homes. So it upset. I'm sorry that I'm kind of like getting worked up. It's because this thing is so upsetting. It is unnecessary that we are at this point in our lives in this country. No woman should feel unsafe in their own home. No woman should feel unsafe on the street. No woman should feel unsafe at work. No woman should feel unsafe on public transport. No woman should feel unsafe on the park. Absolutely no woman should feel unsafe generally in South Africa. But women in this country, they are walking on eggshells because they are afraid of getting attacked. Some men are twisted in this country, and I don't understand why can't we put this straight. So that is why I want to come back to the death penalty. I am starting to advocate for it. As a matter of fact, I want a referendum on this issue because Section 11 of our Constitution says everyone has a right to life, and it's just that one sentence, and it is not limited to Section 36 of the Constitution, meaning that that right cannot be limited. It's just absolute. So meaning that if you kill, the murderer has a right to life, and therefore nobody can touch the murderer, and yet they have taken someone else's life. So there is no balance there at all. If the murder victim is lucky, the murderer will be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and sent to prison. I've mentioned before that our prison system here in South Africa is not designed for rehabilitation. Instead, people go to prison and then they mock the system themselves, the prisoners. When they come out, they're like, oh, that's a holiday. It's a walk in the park. Because that's exactly what they do. They lock them up there. All they do is be fed, which they should be fed. And they have a roof over their heads, which they should be sheltered. They have clothes. They have no worries in the world. And yet, the family member that they've murdered probably was a breadwinner, and now they've left a family going hungry at home, and yet the taxpayers are feeding this murderer in prison. So that is just unfair, and there's an imbalance there and disproportion at the end of the day, and that needs to be rectified. As I'm beginning to gravitate towards the death penalty. The other thing that I'm also starting to advocate is castration. If you are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, meaning the evidence has shown and pointed to the perpetrator that indeed they are guilty of rape, they should have it chopped off. Period. I know that there is no man on this earth once they really chopped off, because I think some men feel that their dignity is down there. So if you are going to take a woman's dignity, because when you violate a woman and force yourself onto a woman, you have basically severed her dignity. So dignity for dignity. Dignity for dignity. Yes, I also acknowledge that there are women who lie on men and accuse them of rape when in fact the man had not done anything to her, but because she has a score to settle with the man, so the easiest thing to do is to go and report false rape. And I think if the court can find such a woman to have lied, she too needs to be harshly punished by the court. May not, of course, can be castrated or done in, but to serve a long sentence in prison for wasting the state's resources. So I'm a bit there, but I'm still on the fence about a lot of things, but I am seeing myself falling towards the death penalty as well as castration for men that commit these crimes, because I think, even though some people believe that the death penalty will not curb anything, it's not going to deter anybody from murdering. As a matter of fact, it might even increase the murder rate, which I still don't understand the whole logic around it. Somebody please explain it to me by commenting down below. So what exactly needs to happen? Because I know one thing about South Africans or Africans in general. Death is something that we don't like. We don't like death, and we don't like to be threatened with death. If we get threatened with death, we always walk the straight and narrow. So that is why I believe that in Botswana, people there walk the straight and narrow when it comes to violent crimes. So I think if we have the death penalty just lingering or lurking around, things will change in South Africa. I believe that gender-based violence will be a thing of the past. Rape will be a thing of the past. Murder will be a thing of the past. Yes, there will be murder here and there, but it will be, the numbers will reduce drastically. Maybe from 57 to 2 a year or 3 a year or a month. We don't know. But 57 a day is way too much. The recent case was of a final year law student in Eastern Cape who was murdered by her boyfriend, and the man even went as far as chopping and dismembering her body, put it in a suitcase and dumped it on the street corner. That's how brazen some men have become, because they know that the law is not going to punish them as harshly as the law should punish them harshly, but instead will take them to a jail cell, which at the end of the day, the man unremorsefully and uncaring and not and arrogantly just confessed, yeah, I killed her. And then there was no trial. He was sent straight to prison to go and enjoy 3 meals a day, shelter over his head, and just no care in the world. Because why should he? He is not scared of the law. Many people in South Africa are not scared of the law because our law or criminal justice system is not as harsh as other parts of the world. And it is unfair to women and children who have to endure abuse on a daily basis in this country. Some women stay in relationships because the man is the provider, making it difficult for her to pack her things and leave. And sadly, some women have not even furthered their studies because of money issues or family issues, and therefore she can't now go and find a job because she's unskilled, she's uneducated, and now her whole life now is dependent on the man. And the man knows this, and he knows that she cannot go anywhere, because if she does, she is going to be living a life of abject poverty. And that is why he does as he pleases on her. So I think if we would have castration and death penalty just lurking around, some men will not do what they do. Yes, there are heinous crimes that are committed elsewhere in the world. Yes, I have heard stories of the death penalty basically executed on a falsely accused person, and they find out later that actually, but in South Africa, the stats do not lie. Numbers never lie. How many rape cases have been reported to the police station? I'm talking authentic rape cases. How many men in the past 22 minutes have been beating their wives? How many women just died in the hands of a man while I am busy recording this video? That's the reality that we are faced with here in South Africa. And as long as the law is lenient, more and more and more of gender-based violence crimes we are going to be hearing on the news, unfortunately. So I am sick and tired, and I would not blame a woman not trusting me as a man. I would not. I would not trust a man myself if I was a woman. I don't care how nicely looking you look or how humble or nice you are, but as long as you are a man. So I hope that you would engage me with this video and let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm incorrect with my thoughts around the death penalty and castration? It's something that we need to discuss, because at the end of the day, if we are not talking, then these men that commit these crimes will think it's okay to do what they are doing to women, because it's not okay. It is completely wrong. And it even upsets me to find that most of these men that are committing these crimes, They go around proclaiming that they are men of God. Like, what sort of a man of God are you? Are you when the Bible even has 10 commandments and the first one is thou shalt not kill? Did they think God did not mean it when he said that? I don't get it, because Karabo Mokoena, she was murdered by a man who professed to be a man of God. Judge Johnson, when he delivered his judgment, said that Sandile Mantsoe was a devil in disguise with a cold heart. The irony of it. You're going around saying, I'm a man of God, I'm a man of God, but you are a devil in disguise with a cold heart. I'm just so bummed that I lost my script, because you would hear what the judge says about Sandile Mantsoe, who killed Karabo Mokoena. Karabo Mokoena was a beautiful young lady who had life at the palm of her hands, her dreams. She wanted to be a pilot. She also wanted to open an NGO that sheltered women that were abused. She advocated against gender-based violence, and the irony of it, she fell in the hands of a man who did exactly what she preached against to other women. Please engage me. What do you think we ought to do as a nation to eradicate gender-based violence, to eradicate women and child abuse? It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. Something has to be done, and that something needs to be harsh. And the only two things I could think about: for rapists found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for rape, castrate them. Let them too experience the scar of a ripped dignity. If you murder, you go hang. Be hanged for your crime. If you are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, I want to emphasize that if you are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, meaning you would be arrested, prosecuted with all evidence put on the table, and this evidence must point to the person, to the perpetrator, that indeed they committed the crime, and therefore the sentence is death, or the sentence is castration. So nobody must say that, oh yeah, if you castrate them, you're violating their dignity. What about the victim? What about her dignity? She's going to be walking this planet with a dignity that is shriveled, damaged. Why his dignity must be protected because it's indignified to castrate him. No, the moment he took that decision to rape is the moment he too decided that his dignity will be removed from him too. It boils down to the decision you make as a man. So why should the rest of us protect your dignity when you could not think of your victim's dignity? Intimate femicide is 5 times the global average, meaning that South Africa is the leader in gender-based violence and femicide in the world. So what women should do? Just wait for their turn? Because the scariest part is, who's next? That's the scary part for a woman. Am I next? That's the question I would be asking myself if I was a woman. Am I next? Women must not be subjected to that. Women also need to have the peace of mind knowing that I can dress as I want. I can come back from an outing any time of the night and nothing is going to happen to me. I can be in a taxi filled with men and I know I'm not going to be attacked. I can walk down the street knowing that I'm not going to be attacked. I can come to my own home and know that my husband or boyfriend or fiance is not going to murder me. That is what every woman should be feeling. In fact, not even thinking about it, because it's something that shouldn't even happen. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in this situation because our lawmakers are not interested. Let's call a thing, like Iyanla van Zed will say. So thank you so much for listening to my rant, guys. I hope that somehow we will have some sort of a discussion and come up with a solution. What are we supposed to do as a nation to curb gender-based violence and femicide? I'm interested to hear. Please comment down below. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you're listening to this video, please guide us, advise, whatever. I'm interested to hear, how do we eradicate, not alleviate, but eradicate this situation we find ourselves in as a nation. So please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so that you do not miss out on any of my new true crime stories. And also please do comment, like, share the video as well. And I will see you next time on my next video. Goodbye.